But you see what I mean? Men already know this is nonsense. This is stupid. Okay? It's only liberal women that are saying, yeah, they're women. And since they're women, we gotta let them in with women. The trans in the middle fools me, fools my eyes, okay? Fools my senses, okay? Doesn't fool DNA, doesn't fool biology, okay? But can be an illusionist. Okay, this is David Copperfield, David Blaine type that's going on. That's you're gonna fall for it.
Every second, every minute, man, I swear that.
Hey everybody, Asagai from Drinking Gourd. Thanks for tuning in. Going over some Piers Morgan Uncensored today. A debate about trans women in women's sports and whether or not it should be happening, whether or not it's it's their fault, whether or not it's women's fault themselves. You'll see what I'm talking about by the end of this. Okay, let's get into it.
Here, look, as I've repeatedly made clear about my own position, which often gets completely misconstrued, as I think does Julie's, as I think does J.K. Rowling and everybody else. My position is that I absolutely respect people who are trans. I respect people who are trans' rights to fairness and equality and safety. I want trans people to have the same fairness, equality and safety that I enjoy.
Now, I've seen this already. I just want to let you notice something. The young lady in the middle here, notice how she's nodding her head as if she's listening to what he's saying. But let's see if she is.
My daughter enjoys, for example. So let's be clear about that. Nothing that I'm about to say is what some people try and frame it as transphobic, right? I'm not remotely transphobic. I am fully supportive of trans people's rights to lead the same life as the rest of us. However, and it's a big however.
Okay. I think he was pretty clear, right? He was pretty clear on his position on trans.
When it erodes, when the battle for trans rights to fairness, equality in particular, but also safety, when that erodes clearly women's rights to fairness and equality and safety, I have a big problem with that. And no place is this more glaring than in the sporting arena, where you see time and again now biological men who identify as trans, who were pretty unsuccessful competing against other biological men, and suddenly they're winning against women or taking Olympic places from women, etc., etc. And I think the UN came up with nearly 900. I mean, John Oliver tried to ridicule this, but nearly 900 medals around the world, I think in the last year, went to trans athletes in women's sport. This cannot be right. It's not fair. It's not equal. As we saw in the Paris Olympics, in the boxing ring, where you had boxers competing who were banned from the World Championships because they had reportedly male chromosomes, and you had women boxers quitting after 40 seconds because they'd never been hit so hard, genuinely fearing they might get killed in the ring. When it comes to this, we are now reaching, to me, not just an unfair and unequal place in this debate, but a dangerous place in this debate. What do you say to that?
Now, before we let her respond, I just want you to just rewind for a second in your head, just a little bit about what he said. All right, he says, I'm all for trans. I respect trans people. They have the right to be who they are. Okay, who they are is what's in question, but they have a right to do that. He's okay. He's not transphobic. Transphobic being having a fear of trans people, not transphobic. Doesn't have a hatred, doesn't have anything like that, right? And then the however, when it crosses over and now invades women's safety and women's arenas, okay, then he has a problem with it. And that's it. That's what he's talking about. Okay, he's not saying anything other than we need to keep trans women out of women's sports. Why? Because it's dangerous. Okay, it's dangerous for a woman to be in there with trans woman. Okay, that, you know what? I used to box. All right, you put me in there with somebody my size, okay, my weight class, and it's a woman. I couldn't even see I couldn't throw a full punch, knowing full well what it would do. Okay, I would never, ever do that. And so it's just bizarre that you can't. That she's not going to take this now. Hands on 10 and 2. Okay, pay attention. Watch what happens.
I think it's difficult. I think that there's a lot of emphasis being put on trans people in sports specifically. I made it very clear, like, I am not here to spit facts or spew anything in terms of like statistics or anything like that. I have my lived experience as a trans person.
It's always just their lived experience. That's all they ever need.
I feel that there's so much attention being put on to this specific subject because what you guys really want underlying is the eradication of trans people and them to not be involved in any cis spaces.
No, you see there.
How long did that take?
Look, Stasia.
That is the dumbest argument I've ever heard in my life.
Right, it's ludicrous. Where have you got that from?
What a bad
Where is
representation
anything
of a
I have
trans
ever
person
said?
to speak out for others.
I'm more so referring to
honestly.
I have seen certain things that you've said in other interviews, Pierce, with like my friend Blossom.
Okay. Again, did you notice how it took about 2 seconds for everything that he said to completely go out the window? It went in one ear, not to nodding, went right out the other, didn't register at all. And that's part of the issues that I have dealing with you liberals, okay? Because you can pretend that you're listening, okay? You can pretend that you're absorbing what I'm saying, but you're really not. You're just waiting for your opportunity to start spewing whatever you want. You're not listening. You're not paying attention, okay? And it's so obvious because she went, nod. You want to eradicate trans people. Ooh. None of what he said had anything to do with any of that.
And other trans individuals, I just feel that the emphasis that is being put
And what was
on
transphobic?
Oh, yeah, we need to do the drinking game again. Every time he says feel, and I say he. He says feel. Every time I feel. So we're a couple of drinks in now.
What have I ever said that could be remotely construed as transphobic or trans-hating or wanting to get rid of trans people? Ever. I challenge you right now. Tell me.
I haven't really directed that at you just from sitting here. I more so am just here to say that I feel that the issue that's being pressed is because it's a...
You just directed it at him. What are you talking? You directed it at him.
I think that the issue that is being put on trans athletes is a way to eradicate trans people.
But this is, with respect, this
Pierce,
is
can
ridiculous.
I interject for a moment?
In the 1960s and 70s, when feminists that came before me set up women's shelters, rape crisis centres, hospital wards, prison wings for women, recognising that some men, not all, but a sizable minority, are a threat to women because sexual violence and harassment is a threat. We weren't told by men, not all of them were pleased, but largely they understood. We weren't told by men, you're trying to erase and eradicate men. The vast majority of men understood why we needed to do this. All we're doing is saying men, and you can call them trans women if you like, but men have no place in women's prisons, domestic violence shelters, and sports.
Now, that lady that was just talking, again, I'm going to get the details and put them down in there as to who she is. However, she made a very valid point as to how the feminist movement separated things for a reason. Why? Because it was dangerous to women. As much as women, say they want to be equal, they don't want to be equal. Okay, let's be honest, because there's none of them trying to work on the oil rigs or the undersea welding, the scuba diving welding, or any of those hard jobs that only men do. They're not lining up to do it. Now, a woman will never be a Navy SEAL. Okay, it's just a stone cold fact. So what she's saying is that, women and feminists did all this to protect women. And now they're realizing that this is not protecting women by saying trans women are just like women. Okay, when obviously they're not. But let's see where this goes, because I tell you, it gets better.
Wait a second. Hang on.
Okay, Emily, you wanted to... yeah, Andrew, I'm going to come to you. Andrew, I'll come to you one moment. Just let Emily jump in on what you're about to say, I think, to Stasia.
I just think it's so infuriating because ultimately, I know many trans people and I've spoken to them about, playing in women's sports, etc. And the biggest issue they face is that they just want to be accepted. Now, if I was a trans woman and I just wanted to be accepted, I'm going to do the exact opposite of what you're doing. You want...
Okay, wait. You got to make sure and watch all the eye rolling, okay? Pay attention. That means she's really paying attention and really thinking about what's being said to her, right? No.
Want to paint all of these labels on you. You want to play identity politics. You want to play the victim, but you want it to be treated as if you're any superior. That's not equality. You receiving special treatment that does not make you equal but makes you superior to others is not looking to be included. It's actually making people detest your cause. It's making people think that you are a moron. And the way that you're trying to represent the trans community as a whole by just denying that there's a threat and being delusional about it is not helping the trans people. You're making people look at you from the outside and say, wow, they are out of touch with reality.
I think that the verbiage that you use in this statement is very clear on where you stand on trans issues. I'm going to go back to my original point. You guys trying to take out trans people from sports is a way to eradicate trans people from public.
But we're not.
She keeps saying eradicate. Maybe she just doesn't understand what that word really means. You think?
We're nobody has said anything. Like
nobody's Stasia. Stasia, nobody.
See, that's the thing that drives me crazy too. Because look, the trans in the middle fools me, fools my eyes, okay, fools my senses, okay. Doesn't fool DNA, doesn't fool biology, okay, but can be an illusionist. Okay, this is David Copperfield, David Blaine type that's going on. That's you're gonna fall for it. But in the end, it's an illusion. It is not real. And you cannot anchor yourself into something that is not real. But wait, I'm sorry. I got away from it. But you got to hear how this goes. Oh yeah, are you keeping up? Are you still hitting them shots with the feels?
Said that, and this is what happens. If you don't mind me saying, what happens? The way that trans activists let themselves down, in my opinion, and you can respond to this, is that you try and shut down perfectly legitimate, in fact, urgently important debate by saying that anyone who dares to question this is transphobic and wants to get rid of trans people. I don't think anyone so far on this panel has said they want to get rid of trans people or anything like it. And yet you keep saying you people all want to get rid of trans people. Why do you believe that? Where have you got that from? You cite my interviews with some of your friends, but where have I said anything remotely?
And I'm sorry, but if you go back and watch this again, she does the hair flip so many times. Again, he.
That could be construed as transphobic. I don't get it.
I think the verbiage that was being used, it's very clear you guys stand on all trans issues.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
So what is the solution for the trans people that are playing sports? What's the solution for them? We're just supposed to kick them out all entirely?
Let me give you the solution. Let me give you the solution. The solution's very straightforward. Almost all of them competed against biological men like themselves before, but they did it far less successfully. So you either go back, trans women athletes either compete against their biological sex, or you create an entirely new category for trans athletes. What you don't do is allow them to destroy the integrity of women's sport, which is what is happening. So it's very straightforward how you solve this. I don't want trans people to be banned from playing sport. I just want them to be banned like I did with the dopers when they were cheating in sport. I want them to be banned from utilizing an unfair advantage. It's simple as that.
I think.
Can I ask her a question? Would you think it's fair if Novak Djokovic identified as a woman and then played Serena Williams in a tennis set? Do you think that would be fair to Serena Williams, who worked her whole life to become a star tennis player, just to get swept by Novak, who's the #1 men's tennis player? I just want to know if you think that's fair.
Yeah, I just think that the question is ridiculous because
Why is it ridiculous?
It's not ridiculous at all.
I see how it's trying to.
See, it's logic, okay? You take your logic, okay, I'll take your logic, and let's apply your logic. And you see, when you apply the logic and it doesn't work out for him, well, then we get this stammering and the but, and it's a good thing they didn't say anything, but Trump.
Be framed. I'm gonna keep going back to my original point. Your guys' excessive attention on wanting to remove trans people from sports and have them play in their biological sex, which makes no sense because even in John Oliver's interview,
or in their own category,
the category that would make sense,
or in their own category,
there's not enough of them to create a category. Like the percentile is so small.
Actually, there actually are an increasingly large number of trans athletes around the world, actually. That's not true. Andrew, you've been waiting very patiently. Thank you. This seems to me, this whole debate so far highlights the way this debate has been framed now for years, which is that any attempt to question what is obviously grotesquely unfair and unequal and indeed unsafe is branded transphobic, even when there's no evidence to suggest that the people saying it are transphobic.
Okay, before Andrew answers, I just want to say one more thing, because then I'm going to have to let him cook because I love this ending. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and comment down below. Tell me what you think about this whole trans things. I got quite a few videos I'm going to be doing. I'll be putting links at the end of this video for them. And you tell me, let's get a debate going because it really is up here, all right? But there's ramifications for everybody to play along. If we all play along, then there's people that are going to be hurt, literally, okay? Not just figuratively, but literally. Let's see what Andrew has to say. God, I love him.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, basically everybody in this panel is wrong. So to start with, this person says, well, you know, the thing is you just want to erase transgender people altogether, Pierce, and then says, I wasn't saying that, Pierce. I wasn't saying that you want to erase trans people, not you specifically, when clearly that's what you were saying. At least get behind the statements that you're making. The TERF starts out by saying, well, I've been here reinforcing women's rights this entire time, right? And then the TERF says, right on top of that, well, but poker's very misogynistic. She can't wait to dunk on men. Very first thing she does is dunk on men in order to somehow elevate women, right? You're all insane. The truth is that the only reason that this happens to begin with is because women vote for it. They vote for it. They vote blue. They vote left. They vote in the same politicians who get behind all of this stuff. You're the deciding vote, right? And you have empowered women to do
Very
that
true.
as much as possible
Very
for the
true.
political process to do that. All of you are responsible for this. Every last one of you.
Really glad that you're so
Emily
perfect.
as well?
Trump.
Yeah.
Leave me out of this one. I'm good.
Well, we'll see. When we
Well,
get
not just
into
what Andrew kept
feminism.
saying. All of you. Do you include Emily, Andrew, or not?
Well, I just assumed it. I just assumed it. But this is the truth. The truth is, we begin with these crazy ideas, right?
Okay, wait. Okay. Definitely last time. I said, but you see what he did? It's true. Okay, white liberal women are the ones that vote in the Democrats that promote these policies. Okay, so they put themselves in that position. Women are the ones that are responsible for it happening. So they've got no one to blame but themselves. I love it.
Under patriarchal rule, under men, this would never have happened, right? If you look at how men vote, they vote against this nonsense. And it's fathers who are on the front lines against it. It's women who are trying to transition the children, not men. Give me a case example of where male fathers are trying to transition their kids. It doesn't exist. It's a female-only phenomenon. Literally a female-only phenomenon.
That is insane.
Yeah, show me one. Show me one male father who's fighting in the courts to transition their son to a girl.
Actually,
Nowhere.
I made a
Nowhere.
That's a
podcast
reach. I see
series
men on
about this.
TikTok that are
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree that there's got to be some simp men out there that are doing it. So, yeah.
diseased.
I interviewed quite a few fathers that
All
are
right, well,
pushing for this. But the point is that this is something that benefits men, and it's men that are the ones that are saying they're women. They are all of a sudden the oppressed, and feminists like me are the oppressor, and that they
voted
want,
for
they're too weak and pathetic to fight
You
and play
voted for
against
it.
other men. And what do?
Do you vote
They
left?
come and beat up on women.
Do you vote left, ma'am?
I don't know what vote left means.
Do you vote for the left-wing party of your
Do you
nation?
vote for Democrats?
Do you vote for
I mean,
what would be
I'm a
considered
British-
the Democrats of your nation?
No, I wouldn't have voted for the Democrats. I would not have voted for the disgrace of that party. And I also wouldn't have voted for Trump. But the point is,
If we look,
I
hang on,
believe
yeah,
in,
let me finish.
We,
We'll
we,
follow
we
up
live
very
in a
quickly,
different,
very quickly, very quickly.
we live
Megan
in a
response.
different context
What I'm
here.
saying to you is this: it's very simple. If you look at the voting patterns of women in both the UK and the United States, they're usually the deciding vote when it comes to degeneracy. That
It's not got to
includes
do with
when
anything.
it includes on the trans issue. So here you are. It's the very thing that you push for empowerment of women that is now causing your very problem. You have to now convince women. Men are already there. Men have already said, nope, we don't
Apart
want
from
this.
the
We never
men
wanted
that are
it. It's
claiming
garbage.
to be women.
Yeah, apart from the women who are claiming to be men, which now it's almost equalized. Remember that part? Right? This phenomenon, though, is categorically rejected by men and reinforced by women. And TERFs like you did everything that you could possibly do in order to push that. You did everything you could do to push that. And now you get to reap the whirlwind. So I don't care if women in their sports teams are getting their teeth kicked in. I don't care. Reap what you sow. As you sow, so shall you reap. And then you
seem
get
a nice
exactly what you
person.
deserve.
You seem like a lovely person.
I'm sorry that you have to deal with the consequences of your own actions.
Didn't I tell you? Yeah, Andrew went in. Okay, and it was a brutal truth. It was an absolute you got what you deserved. Why? Because she's on there trying to convince women, because men already know. Okay, men are not saying, we need trans women in women's sports. Why? Because men ain't watching women's sports to begin with anyway. But also they know that that's totally unfair. That's kind of stupid. Okay, if that's the case, then let me let LeBron in the WNBA, and then this way I can put money on and make money, and then, you know, we'll work out a deal where he'll flop a game or two. You know? But you see what I mean? Men already know this is nonsense. This is stupid. Okay? It's only liberal women that are saying, yeah, they're women. And since they're women, we got to let them in with women. But my daughter is, see, now that's where your problem is. That's where your problem is. So, liberal women, okay? Both black, white, all of you. If you're a liberal and you're a woman, you're screwing yourselves. You're doing it to yourself, okay? First, do no harm. Learn something. Anyway, we're going to get into some more of this debate in some other videos. Again, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button. All right, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.